Today is Tuesday, January 12th, approximately 4:02 in the afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Bay County Board of Commissioners. If you would take roll, please.
Commissioner Durancheck.
Here.
Big X.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
Tilly.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
Chairman Krieger.
Yes,
All members present.
very good. Let's stand for the invocation and then the pledge.
Lord God, our Heavenly Father, the strength of all who put their trust in you, we ask that you mercifully accept our prayer. And because through the weakness of our mortal nature we can do no good thing without your aid, we ask that you grant us the help of your grace to lead this commission, Lord, to work for the good of all. In your holy name we ask this. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have a little business to take care of as in the tone of minutes. There's minutes from 12/8, 12/15, and January 4th. Which pleasure?
Support.
Any discussions? With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. At this time, we'll go into citizens' input. If anyone's out there that wishes to address the board, now would be the time. Name and address.
Thank you, Chairman Krieger. My name is Tom Barrett, 1407 Taylor, Bay City, Michigan. In a second, I'd like to hand out just some thoughts I put down on paper to the Commission and to the County Executive. I met with County Executive Hickner yesterday and Commissioner Tilly. And I had sent out an email, and hopefully most of the commissioners have got it, received it. I'm here today to speak about the panhandling problem that we've been having in Bay County. And after speaking with County Executive Hickner, I better understand that it's being addressed at the township level. And I plan tonight to also go to the Bangor Township Board meeting, and they are possibly adopting an ordinance to deal with that issue. If I could, I'd like to hand out the one.
Sure.
There's 7 for the commission. And if you could pass it down to Mr. Hickman. Thank you.
I'll give you mine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'll listen. I'll pull it off of you.
Over the last, I would say, month or so, I've been, seeing the problems that we've had with panhandlers in the city and the county. And I've spoken to a number of people, and I've just jotted down some of the points of emphasis that I wanted to share with the county commissioners. Number 1, panhandling has become a problem in Bay County. Number 2, it needs to be addressed by all jurisdictions in the county. Number 3, I don't believe there's a true need with these panhandlers, not an ongoing need for 10 months in a row by some of them. Several of the beggars I've learned, or I call them beggars, are not from the area. Number 5, they promote a wrong image of Bay City, Bangor Township, and Bay County. A wrong image is projected in our county. The panhandlers, I've learned, have substance abuse issues and mental health issues. Number 7, I know in speaking to people that they've been offered help and they've refused. Number 8, they claim that, some of them claim that this is their job. I know for a fact on number 9 that they stay in motels on Euclid Avenue. Number 10, they eat in area restaurants. Number 11, they do negatively react with people that they approach at cars. Number 12, they hold up traffic on busy roadways in our community. 13, I've witnessed them walking down Euclid in the road, holding up traffic, and I have called 911 on them. 14, they've been severely restricted in using public restrooms in stores because of what the store managers find in the restrooms after they leave. And that's in speaking with store managers. They've refused food and been told, and have told Good Samaritans that they only want cash. 16, they've had confrontations with other family members when they're out panhandling, and police have had to been called. 17, I've witnessed them handing bags of something to cars that stop where they're panhandling. Number 18, they leave behind litter at their locations and destroy outlying areas. And if I could just read on the back and just read into the record, and if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, I'd be glad to answer. It has been over a several-month period that I've been concerned about this issue of panhandlers in Bay County. It is my opinion, and literally everyone that I've talked to, that it's gotten out of control. Recently, the city of Bay City has passed an ordinance to address and regulate panhandlers in our community. What it did was basically push them across the street just outside the city limits into Bangor, Monitor, and Hampton Township that I've witnessed. In talking with many concerned citizens and leaders here in Bay County, I see that the need to adopt ordinances in the townships as well. Talking to Veterans Administration officials, police officers, store managers, elected officials at all levels, city, county, and township, it seems that we can move in the right direction in cleaning this up. I strongly encourage the Bay County Board of Commissioners to adopt a resolution to share with all the surrounding townships to adopt an ordinance to address the panhandling problem. I encourage the county commissioners who represent the following townships, Monitor, Hampton, and Portsmouth, to work with their areas to support an ordinance addressing this. I would like to, and this is for Bangor Township tonight, I'd like to thank them for them possibly adopting their proposed ordinance regarding panhandling, which really has affected Bangor Township, in my opinion. I know, having served in an elected capacity during my lifetime, that you will hear some people think that you are doing the wrong thing, and you'll be open to comments and criticism. But I can assure you that the vast majority of the people in this community are tired of seeing this and would like them to leave. I call them this quiet, silent majority, and I feel that I'm conveying some of their thoughts. I sincerely thank you, commissioners and elected leaders, for moving Bay County forward. Sincerely, Tom Barry.
Tom, let me do this. We'll get a response from our attorney. We'll have Amber address that, just to make it aware of kind of where the county is and what we can and can't do. And by putting it out on Bay 3 TV, that gives all the other individuals that information that they wouldn't get normally.
Absolutely, thank you. And she has shared that through County Executive Hector with me, but
I'd like to make it public. Amber, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an issue that the county has looked into. I do know that there's been concern from a number of constituents in the county who are residents of different townships or other municipalities within our borders. One of the main issues that we run into with the panhandling ordinances as a county is our ability as a county government to actually pass an ordinance that affects all of the townships, villages, cities within our border. Each of those individual municipalities has the right to pass their own local ordinance that deals with panhandling or another number of other local concerns. The county is only given the authority to pass an ordinance county-wide if it relates to county business, or if it in fact does not interfere with any of the other municipalities' ordinances that they may have passed, and it does not contravene any state law. There are specific statutes that allow the county to pass ordinances. Some of them would include noxious weed ordinances, animal control ordinances, zoning ordinances, things of that nature. But unless we have that specific statutory authority that allows us to pass that ordinance, we go back to that general county business ordinance, can't interfere with any of the other municipalities. One of the issues, so the chance of passing a county-wide ordinance for panhandling, I think is very slim, because I do think that it would be determined to be unenforceable as a matter of law because it's outside of the county's power. I understand that what you're asking at this point in time is that the county encourage all of the other municipalities within our borders to pass panhandling ordinances similar to that of the city of Bay City. Some of the issues that have been brought up in the past, mostly in the federal courts, are dealing with the enforceability of these panhandling ordinances because they could potentially violate First Amendment freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. The courts have consistently held that just a broad prohibition on panhandling is unconstitutional, violation of your First Amendment rights to freedom of speech. However, very recently, as recently as November of last year, another federal court has determined that even the ordinances that have been passed with all of these additional constraints, time constraints, I believe that one of the things that the city of Bay City looked at was from sundown to sunup, it would be prohibited during that time period. A certain number of feet within ATMs, whether or not they're going to be panhandling in traffic on medians, if they're going to be approaching individuals in an aggressive manner, or if they're going to be approaching them if they're in line for a local business. There has been one federal court that, again, as recently as November of last year, has determined that ordinances with those type of constraints are also unconstitutional as a First Amendment violation of free speech. That federal court case was outside of the Sixth Circuit. It was a First Circuit case, so that is not necessarily binding on our courts, but the overwhelming trend has been to find more and more consistently that these ordinances are unenforceable. Because it is a very complex legal issue, because it is a very locale-specific issue, Bangor may be having this problem, whereas Pinconning may not be having this problem. I think that probably the best method for this board to deal with the issue is to strongly encourage all of those municipalities within our borders to consult with their own legal counsel to make a determination as to whether or not they think those specific ordinances with whatever restrictions they want would be enforceable, number one, and number two, whether it's a good fit for that particular locality. You know, all politics are local, most problems are local, and because of that, most of these local boards want to make these own decisions, their own decisions on these type of matters. They don't want the county dictating to them what they should or shouldn't do. So I would strongly encourage the board to say to those townships, consult with your legal counsel, see whether or not this is something that's right for you, craft something that is specific to your locality with the understanding, as those municipalities will have, that the county prosecutor and the county sheriff's department are not the individuals who are responsible for enforcing those ordinances. It would still be that locality's code enforcement officer and their own attorney or prosecutor that they've retained that would enact and enforce those ordinances.
Thank you. Commissioner Tilley.
I do want to, I want the public know that we are bringing forth such a resolution today to the board to encourage the local municipalities to consult their attorneys and potentially, if needed, adopt an ordinance that fits their local needs. And a lot of this, I think, you can almost parallel the rise in what we've seen in panhandling in Bay County to the timing of when heroin started to pop up in Bay County in larger numbers. And I say this probably does go back to the cuts they started taking in mental health in the state of Michigan. And you start reducing access to and eliminating access to mental wellness or mental health services. These people, in many cases, have mental health issues or drug addiction problems, but they don't have a vehicle to get to or the means to get to a resource to help. There isn't long-term care available to help those who are addicted to either prescription painkillers or heroin or whatever other drug it might be. They give them these in and out sessions and they're right back on the street and it's right back in their face and they're just trying to survive and they're looking for a quick fix to get through the next day. And so, part of this blame goes right back to the state of Michigan and the cutting that they've done to the funding in Department of Human Services, in particular in mental health, has created much of the problems that we're seeing locally in our state. And then, of course, they leave it up to us, the locals, to have to come up with a solution, something we don't have the funds to go ahead and fix, because they took them away from us as well as everybody else. It's a vicious cycle, but we are going to bring forward, hopefully the board will find it in their hearts to support the
the resolution I brought forward, and thank you, Deanne, for putting it together today on rather short notice, very short notice, for that way. And I hope that the other communities in our county do consider the option, and if they feel need that there is a need for these, for an ordinance in their local municipality, that they take action on that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Commissioner Herrick?
Thank you. Mr. Beard, I think the whole board, everybody here wants to thank you for bringing this back to the top again, because I agree with everything you have on here, and especially agree, I think we have inoculated ourselves in the last year or so, because we drive by these people every day and we're just like, you almost don't see them anymore. To a lot of us, they're invisible. But I agree, when somebody's driving into town, they are not invisible. They're out there. And anybody who's been out there for a certain number of time, like you mentioned 10 months, and probably some have been out there for 2 years, there's help available if they need it. And obviously, they don't want it. We've all heard stories about people, and my wife included, has offered them food before, and they said, oh, you have cash, and she just drove away. So that part is true also, and I've had people follow me, even in town here, asking me, for cash, and just 2 weeks ago, in fact. So it's there. It does project a bad image, and again, thanks for what you've done, to bring this up, and I think we're going to see a little more action, even though the city has passed their ordinance already. It's going to really start to percolate now, and we'll get some things done because of you. So thank you.
Commissioner Coonan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we all know that it's an issue, and I think we've identified the problem, but we haven't identified any solutions. And if Bay City adopted a resolution and it pushed them out to Bangor, and then Bangor, ultimately, how are you going to enforce this? Is it going to ultimately, if they break the law, is the sheriff going to pick them up, put them in the jail? I mean, we should have a plan for this. I mean, these people do need help. I don't think we should just disregard what they're going through, because we're not the judge, the jury, or the executioner. I have no idea what's going on in these folks there. I've seen them, but I don't know each individual case, and I don't think we can treat them all with a 4-inch paintbrush. So if we can come up with, if ultimately this happens in one of the townships and they break the law and the sheriff picks them up, what are we going to do with them? Are we going to put them in jail and then seek treatment? We should be doing something. We should have some sort of a plan, because it's not going to go away. You might just push it to another wherever, but we have no plan for these people. And I think sometimes we need to act with compassion, because I don't think you're out there with a sign if you are in your right state of mind. I think there are issues, as Commissioner Tilley mentioned, mental health issues. So if we don't have a solution or a plan to this, then what are we doing? We're just creating another law that can't be enforced, and these people are not getting any help. I'd like to see somebody come up with some solution. If the police pick them up, we take them to some place and let them get evaluated, and see if we can do some help for these people. It's easy to say that you did a little study and this is what's out there, but we don't know if that's completely accurate. I'm not saying what you have done isn't worthy, but I'm uncomfortable with supporting something that really identifies a problem but doesn't have any solutions to that problem.
Okay. Commissioner Begic?
Monitor Township's in my area, and I've talked to them a couple times already, and I think they've been waiting for the city ordinance, so I plan to go back to Monitor. Aggressive behavior is the other issue. I got a call about them being aggressive, coming, in your face type stuff, and that's really concerning the one person that called me. So I think we've got, some of the ordinances have that in there. If they approach you, if they act aggressively, then that would be a violation of the ordinance. The other one is the veterans, being a veteran, and we have veteran services available, and I just, it's hard for me to see somebody else, if they really are veterans, that's another issue. And we have services available. We've got places for them to go, we've got, treatments for them and stuff, so if they are veterans, hopefully we can get them some treatment off the street. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Tilly again?
Yeah, just to double back on what Commissioner Coonan said is that, I don't think the panhandlers that we're seeing out here today, now maybe at least the bulk of the ones that are out there are, well, I'll put it this way, I think those that are really out there that are in need and could use help won't be impacted by this. Just our recommendation for other locals to adopt an ordinance of some sort. I think that there's there's a deeper issue here that I think that what the locals are doing will address much of the panhandling issue. And there are a couple that, I've seen out there that it's obvious that they really are homeless and they really are in need. A lot of the other ones that I've seen out there are doing it for other reasons, whether it be just for the cash, or whether it be for drugs, whether it be for, which possibility is that somebody else is paying them to stand out there to collect money, and then they get a portion of those funds that are collected, and it's kind of like a job for them throughout the day, because they're smoking cigarettes and they're eating out. So I think this will address the core of what we're looking for. At the end of the day, we're never going to solve homelessness, but we can, and I agree with Commissioner Coonan, we should have a plan at some point in time, and part of this goes back to this problem started when they started cutting community mental health and Department of Human Service funding in the state of Michigan. We cannot provide the services on a regular basis to these individuals who are suffering either from mental illnesses or from drug addiction, to get them off the streets and get them cleaned up and get them the drugs or medications that they need to make them productive citizens in our society once again. It's a big white elephant that people just, for whatever reason, over the course of the last decade, have just said, well, that's their issue, let them figure it out. Well, then it becomes our problem later on, like we're seeing now, is now people are walking the streets, they're setting up camps in places they hadn't been before. They don't have, and it's easy for us to say, well, there's mental health here, there's mental health there. They don't get that. They don't listen to the news, and they don't hear they don't know where these places are. Even if they are, they don't trust government. They don't trust the people that threw them out in the street. They have issues. We teach some of these. They're students that come through our schools, and I like to talk to ask my students. I say, if you're a business owner and you have a choice between an employee, especially right now when we have the unemployed people in our community that we have, and you have a choice between an employee that has a mental health issue or an employee that doesn't have a mental health issue, who are you going to hire? And it's a very simple answer, because we know what they're going to do. On occasion, you do have a charitable business owner who goes, I'm going to give this person a shot. But most of the time, it's like, so now what do they do? And where do they go? Are you going to have them live with you? Are you going to pay their rent for them? So this is a very deep problem. But I do think, going back to the start with what we brought forward here, and encouraging the local municipalities to consult with their attorneys and adopt something that's relevant to their needs, will take care of the bulk of the issue. These people that are out there who are being abusive. And there are, in their ordinances, there are policies laid out about what they're supposed to do and how it's enforced. And the police have been advised on what they're supposed to do, and they've taken action on some of these people already. So I think that'll all come through with this, Commissioner Coonan, I really do. It's a step in the right direction. Doing nothing doesn't help us at all. So I hope you support the endeavor you're going forward with. Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Lutz?
Well, I agree that we need a plan, because it's not just the people on the corners and everything. It's the person themselves that we have to deal with, not the situation that they necessarily find themselves in. Whether they just be homeless, or whether they have mental health issues, or whatever, we need to help as much as we can, and to develop a plan on how we're going to address the person and the issues that each individual person has. And, as we're going through this, I just wanted to mention too that any of the municipalities which, do pass these ordinances, I would hope that our corporate council will make sure that they look at these ordinances, because some of the enforcement is through contracts with the sheriff. and we need to make sure that whatever they're enacting, we can enforce, because we are the law enforcement for them. Okay?
Absolutely.
So, Mr. Barrett, whoops, I'm sorry, Mr. Hickner.
Go ahead, Mr. Chair.
No, I was just going to say, for Tom standing there almost 30 minutes to have a discussion with the board, I hope it's something that you were hoping that was going to take place. And I would say that there will be some communications with behavioral health, looking to see if they can come up with some type of a game plan that would aid the townships.
If I could, I'd like to just say one other thing. This isn't a simple issue. I don't have all the answers. The ordinances do address how to enforce it. The police agency for that community would be the one that would be contacted. My understanding is that these individuals are given a warning and told about the ordinance. If they are seen again, that they can be issued a ticket. There would be, a court matter. The veterans, if a veteran is picked up, they're going to be put in touch with the Veterans Administration, because like Commissioner Bugak said, that there are services out there. There are a lot of things in this community that can help these people. Several different organizations, if they want the help.
Correct.
And it's been my experience that not a lot of them want help. And it is a complex issue. I thank the board for listening to my concerns, and I know it's not going to be any easy fix, but I think if we get some attention to it, and if township by township they start enacting ordinances, I really believe that the problem that we're seeing today is going to disappear.
Okay.
And I thank the board for letting me speak today.
Sure. Mr. Hickner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of comments. Tom has had contact with the Veterans Administration staff about this issue, and he can share what those conversations were. As we know, we're not the only community that is dealing with this. All you have to do is go downtown Ann Arbor on any given day. They have a tremendous problem in Ann Arbor. I did some research, and there is a publication that was put out by the U.S. Department of Justice, COPS, Problem-Oriented Guides for Police Problem-Specific Guide Series. And the quote that I pulled out of it on page 17 was, most researchers and practitioners seem to agree that the enforcement of laws prohibiting panhandling plays only a part in controlling the problem. Public education to discourage people from giving money to panhandlers, informal social control, and adequate social services, especially alcohol and drug treatment for panhandlers, are the other essential components of an effective and comprehensive response. Earlier today, as I shared with the chairman and Mr. Coonan, I did contact Joel Strauss, our health director, who also serves as the chairperson of the Human Services Coordinating Council. That is an organization that has been in existence in the community for many years, and it brings to the table all of the stakeholders that deal with human service issues, including not only mental health, but DHS and the myriad of other agencies that are doing very good work in the community on a lot of different issues. And one of the things that the specific request that I made to Joel was that on the next committee council agenda that they add this issue. And I already know that there is a fair amount of work being done, and there is probably more that can be done. As Mr. Tilley pointed out, it's not going to go away, but we can have an impact. And I think there's certainly a commitment on the part of the human services community to do what can be done. Just as an aside, in terms of just kids aging out of foster care, half of all kids that age out of foster care are homeless within a year. And in this community, we have, the stats show that well over 100, upwards of 200 kids that could be classified as homeless. And that's an issue that they have already started working on, and it's an ongoing thing. From the standpoint of HUD, they actually have had a 10-year plan to end homelessness in this country, and there have been some very significant success stories in that regard. So it is more than just this ordinance, but I think talking about it and recognizing that we do have a problem is what we've got to do. And so that is
Very good.
where we're going to follow through on.
Very good. My 2 cents on this whole deal is we have to walk a fine line, because the last thing I would want to do is infringe on someone's civil rights for freedom of speech, especially if it turns out to be a vet that needs a helping hand and isn't getting the proper counseling as they should. So, Tom, thank you for bringing this up. I'm sure this isn't going to be the last time we talk about this issue, because it will be ongoing, and hopefully we can get the right people together from the proper departments to try to seek the help that we need for these people. So
Thank you very much.
Yep. Have a good afternoon. Anyone else like to address the Board of Commissioners? You'd think it was cold outside the way you're bundled up.
Sorry. I didn't come down. I'm Dave Rogers, 4659 Dale Court, Monitor Township. I'm interested in the panhandling situation, but I see by your agenda here some things that I thought that you should know that I should try to impart to you, because Harold Beauchamp and I started Bay 3 TV together. He says 18 years ago. It seems like longer than that to me. But I want to add my commendation and to him for his years of service, and congratulations on his retirement. And just mention a couple of things. One is that a number of young people, it's an educational program, is what it was. That's what it was started at. A number of young people have gone on to careers in television, including the chief engineer of, I think it's either Channel 12 or Channel 5, Dave Van Nostrand. I think he's
One of those.
Anyway, several people have done well. And just briefly, I want to mention to you the history of television in this community. In 1971, the Skill Center was built by Bay Air, according to a vote of the people in a millage. They built a magnificent studio in there, as large as this room, in 1971. In 1984, when I went to work for the schools, I went over there. It had been abandoned. It had never been used. All of that time, from 71 to 84. Not being a math major, I don't know how many years that is, but anyway. So I attempted to get a channel through Bresnan, Garrity, and was totally shut out for 12 years. Even though it was in their contract that they were to provide 2 channels, one for education, one for government. Finally, I think it was Charter that came in and we were able to get the channel. And Harold was able to get the technology going and started the whole thing. Anyway, it would be a shame. I see the Bay City Schools is pulling out of Bay 3 TV, which is a shame. I hope it doesn't die. That's all I have to say about it. Anyway, thank you for giving me the time.
You're very welcome. Anyone else wish to address the board? Afternoon, Mike.
Mike Bristow, 2916 Douglas Drive, Baker Township. I'd like to talk about then and now. Then, we had Indian sites, according to this paper. On this paper, there was one particular one that goes right along the Kilcullen River. To the one side, there's a burial ground. That would be where Bayside Park subdivision is. Where the village is, as it's listed on this map, is a farm. Here's a plot map back in 1916. You can get this, by the way, out of the U of M library. Gentleman by the name of Bump owned the property at of the Coquitlam. Peter and Charles Lynn had a farm in Section 4 of Bangor Township. Here's a picture of their farm in Section 4 of Bangor Township. We go now and we fast forward, and all of a sudden this Bayside Park is listed as a confined disposal facility. What is a confined disposal facility? The same thing you have at the mouth of the bay that nobody wants to go on. But Ernie and I have talked that in what we say, 20 years?
At least.
Yeah, about 20 years it'll be filled with about a foot of topsoil and it'll be a new island to go play on. This is what it is, and it's in a residential area. Confined disposal facility in a residential area. Here's a 1938 map showing you the farm. Now this is the good one, the DEQ. Not that I have anything personally against them. They come out with a 2016 303D report. Most people would not take the time to read 1,400 pages. I do. I've got all kinds of time. It says we'll have this done in total maximum daily limit is scheduled to be finished in 2022. In the 2014 report, it said it was going to be done in 2013. Nothing. 2002 report, it said it was going to be done in 2003. Here's a 1960s picture of a flyover. Same area. Nothing. You got a mine, the Winona coal mine. And you still have a farm. Now, it leads me to believe when you start getting into it a little bit deeper, you start looking at liabilities and who's having responsibility. On your county website, Coquitlam Watershed Management Plan, it'd be chapter 3, page 39, you have a description of the property that is wanted. You also have it where looks like it's an intentional setup for mitigation of wetlands. You have a drainage law that you have to follow. That's a federal law. You have no choice. This is the DEQ map, which is showing 2014, the area which we live in is loaded with PCB. Can't make this up. This is off their own sites. I don't make this up. This is another one showing toxicity for the dioxins that are along the shoreline. Again, right off the DEQ. Topical marsh. We go back and look at that. You look at the dike. When I called the NRC on a particular issue, they said the natural flow is out Botel Parish Road. The natural flow never went out Botel Parish Road. It went out to Topical Marsh. So it led me to look at the historical site activities of Hartley Landfill. 1954 was established. Lo and behold, back in 1983, and we're on record here, that's when they finally put in the cap and slurry walls. So if you do the math and subtract 54 from 83, you'll see how many years stuff was floating around where it was going. That was then. This is now. Here's a list of names of people. Aranet, Bay, Saginaw, Tuscola, Ducks Unlimited wants their property. Conservation easement. Nobody has been notified. Nobody has been talked to, letter sent, or nothing. I contacted all the ones that may come. Cancer. How random is cancer? Johns Hopkins University. The authors of the new study reported that while intricate factors did have a role in cancer development, environmental factors have a more robust effect. 70 to 90%. If you're willing to gamble, you don't have to go to Saginaw. Right? Now we come to selling property. Who would ever thought there'd be a disclosure law? that you have to talk about in selling your property. In other words, all the people that have property that is sold around the confined disposal facility, they can sue. How far do you have to live from it? They estimate 2 miles. There. Now I asked Commissioner, Chairman Krieger, have I not established many times in contact with you and brought facts that you were satisfied with?
You've never steered me wrong on information that you've found within different departments. That's just there. People need to have the willingness to dig into it or take the time to dig into it.
That's the whole thing, taking the time to read into it. I can't make this stuff up because it's all backed up with the proof in these books. You know where you can get these books?
Library.
Yeah. For sale at Northwoods Wholesale. They got a ton of these. And when you take the time and you go through it, you start to see a history. And the history tells a story. You have a chunk of land that the DEQ wants. They don't care how they get it. The gentleman that owns it is in court now. Been blocked by clay mounds, the ditches. It's on your own site that there's an intent. How close are we to conspiracy? Conspiracy doesn't have a limit. Very close to conspiracy. This particular case that's here, so you'll know, there is no other case in the United States, and that's through the Solicitor General. So you're going to set a record. Could you see the big dishes coming in? It says CNN and Fox. Very good chance. But I'd suggest that we start putting down a little thought here and try to start solving the work and get problems done. Because back in 1998, 99, I believe it was, right in there, I don't have it off the top of my head, there was an issue about trying to acquire 130 acres of property and make it a confined disposal facility. How grand is that? I would hope that maybe this commission would see it in the best interest of the entire community, because I believe that the government is responsible to work for what is in the best interest of the common people. That's your philosophy of government. And what is common? You're looking at it right here. If I was to drop dead today, I've had 18 years of retirement. That's something that most people won't see. In those 18 years, I've worked harder in those 18 years than I did the 39 years that I worked at General Motors. By the way, I got a General Manager's Award for Excellence where I got to talk to all the Vice Presidents of General Motors about leadership. So just so you know, I'm not a crackpot. I do know what I'm talking about. I can back it up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike. Just a comment coming from me. Administration has had and is presently working on information dealing with that site in Bangor Township. I know Laura has spent time, we have FOIAs that are out there to try to get the information of what type of spoils were put in, when was it tested, and where is it today. So just so the board knows that we need to continue to hold the DEQ and the Corps of Engineers accountable for decisions that were made to put a disposable site in a residential area, and whether or not there is any leaching or if there's any parallel between that site and individuals that live there that have come down with cancer. So I know that it'll be ongoing, and Tom, I'm sure you will support the actions in whatever is needed by Laura and Amber to make these people accountable. Okay? Anyone else wish to address the board? Very good. That being said, let's move on to petitions and communications. And this is actually a good part of this afternoon. We have a recognition of Harold Beauchamp on his retirement from Bay 3 TV. It would be Resolution 2016-1. What's your pleasure?
So moved. Support.
Any discussions? With that, I'd ask Cindy if you would read the resolution, please.
Resolution 2016, number 1, at the Bay County Board of Commissioners. Whereas there are many individuals in Bay County deserving of recognition for their contributions to this community. And whereas one of these worthy individuals is Harold Beauchamp. And whereas a Marine Corps veteran and a former employee of the Bay County Sheriff's Department, Harold Beauchamp has been employed by Bay 3 TV for the past 18 years and has worked closely with Bay County governmental officials highlighting Bay County operations and events. And whereas Harold Beauchamp tirelessly provided services to the Bay County Prevention Network, Bay Area Chamber of Commerce, Bay Commitment Scholarship, Can Council, Project Blue Light, and other local nonprofits to film their events and broadcast them live on TV. And whereas Harold Beauchamp's achievements include, but are not limited to, producing a program entitled Math Homework Live, which assisted Bay County Public School students with their math homework on live TV, and implementing a live streaming service for Bay TV3 that allows for 24/7 free viewing to Bay County residents and anyone else around the world. And whereas Harold Beauchamp has been instrumental in the planning and production of the Fireworks Festival Telethon and the St. Patrick's Day Parade, 2 staple events in our community. Whereas, in addition to his many and varied duties and his contribution of time and talent, Harold Beauchamp has donated countless pieces of equipment and updates and new equipment to Bay 3 TV to facilitate a smoother and more efficient operation, much of this equipment still in use. Therefore, be it resolved that the Bay County Board of Commissioners and the Bay County Executive take this opportunity to recognize Harold Beauchamp for his job performance and contributions to Bay County and offer best wishes for a well-deserved, long and happy retirement. Signed, Bay County Board of Commissioners.
Very
Frank
good.
Krieger, Chair.
Any other discussion? With that being said, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Harold, come on up and get on the other side of the camera for a change. Actually, I'm going to hand this to you, and then I'll get it when I come down. Thanks. Now I can give it to you. Harold, I don't know where to begin. I've known you for a while. You actually took classes out of Delta College in refrigeration. And one thing that I will say with the time that I've been with the board, anytime we came to you to ask if it's a possibility, you've always said yes. You've been the eyes and ears of Bay County. You've helped with transparencies. You involved yourself with kids in education. And we are certainly going to miss you, but we're very happy that you've had the opportunity to already start to travel the states so you can see this country. So I guess on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we'd like to congratulate you on your retirement. And also, I guess a side note that I would mention is I'm going to put a challenge to administration. Bay 3 TV is unbelievable as far as the individuals that it touches. So I would hope that we would work together to find a solution or to find monies and funds that would allow Bay 3 TV to continue. You left an awesome employee in Nick, as you have with other individuals that work for you and under you. So again, from the county, congratulations. And I know you'd like to say a few words, right? Other than
Hoorah. I'll promise, I was asked before I even came up here that I'd probably want to talk for a while, so I'll keep it under about 15, 20 minutes. No, seriously, I just wanted to say that I remember when I did the first meeting that the Bay County Commission and all the other meetings were broadcast. I was the only one with Bay 3 TV that was here when it all started, and I can say that I'm here for me when it ended as my retirement. I want to seriously and sincerely thank everybody in Bay County, especially the Board of Commissioners, the executive staff, for everything that they've done. All I can say is that I'm going to miss being here. Most people don't believe me, but actually the county meetings were my favorite meeting to come to because I could just sit, and sometimes I would be wandering, my brain would wander a little bit while you were talking, but.
And you sat next to, no wonder you enjoyed it.
You got that right. But I want to thank everybody for my recognition, and it really means a lot. So thank you again, and thank you for the nice flag.
Yep, you take good care.
I have a spot for it.
Good, good. Next, we'll move into C. We'll skip B at this time. Brandon Kraus is with his dad that had some medical issues. So under C, Director of Environmental Affairs and Community Development has a presentation to talk about Saginaw Bay Coastal Initiative and the Bay City State Recreation Area dealing with the shoreline. A motion to receive would be in order. We'll leave discussions open and we'll hand it over to Laura. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. And in keeping with time, my presentation fried moments before this meeting, so I'm going to just go over some highlights. This is a list of some of the work I've been leading. It's not a complete list, but it's an overview of some of those priority projects. I wanted to present them, give them a list, but this is the first meeting of the year, and I want to urge you to kind of review the list. If there are projects in particular that you would like to hear more about, or an aspect that you'd like to hear more about, let me know, and I can bring those up and kind of go over those a little bit more in depth at later meetings. A couple things I just want to touch on: the Phragmites, coastal restoration Phragmites. We do have a pending grant into the DNR. It's a $400,000 grant. While it's not been awarded actually yet, we are in discussions with DNR that looks pretty promising. They're actually looking at asking us to tweak here and there. And before I was willing to entertain those tweaks, I did ask, does this logically mean that we are going to be awarded the grant? And she was affirmative. She couldn't promise that, but she said that is why we were being asked to kind of review some of those activities. So $400,000 total project cost for treatment and community engagement for management of Phragmites. That will go from Aranac County. One of our partners is the Saginaw Chippewa Tribe. So they're involved. They've got some shoreline property moving along the west coast of Pinconning. Carnweeda, the Consumers Energy, is a partner with us. They're kicking in a substantial portion of our match. Hampton Township, and moving into DNR, Quantico, and into Tuscola County.
Wonderful.
I will say that there is a sister project to this project with Michigan Tech that is actually moving up the Saginaw River corridor and into Franklin West Township. I know, in fact, just so you know, they could have gone anywhere, but based on some of the feedback I had gotten, I was aware that that was a priority area, and so we were able to direct them to that river corridor and up into Franklin, so some of the Dutch Creek area will be addressed. Then I will just mention that Saginaw Bay Coastal Initiative that you've heard about, you were aware of, just to remind you, it was formed in 2006.
It's amazing.
This is 2016, so this is our 10-year anniversary, and it's pretty compelling, some of the work that we're engaged in this year, because while we've been dealing with the Saginaw Bay and the Saginaw River, kind of focused on those coastal resources, and meeting every month, there is another organization called the Partnership for the Saginaw Bay Watershed that is focused on the same geography area of concern is Saginaw Bay and Saginaw River, and yet their members, their board members are within the watershed, going down to Oakland County, Lapeer, Genesee, up into Clare, and yet they don't meet. And so while we share, we overlap in geography and we share goals as far as restoration, it's an exciting time to finally have these two groups working together and in concert, possibly forming some type of an official recognized merger, in fact, because the partnership is the designated area public advisory council that actually is able to direct where federal funding goes for federal projects for restoration. So it was critical to tie in with them. And it was a shame that they weren't meeting, and that's really explains why a lot of the federal projects that have gone on in the last 5 years have been kind of scattershot. We've had some studies that have gone on that people kind of weren't really aware of the origins, or it wasn't on anybody's priority list. That really explains that. And so our goal this year is to put together a project priority list of restoration for federal funding. Top priorities are beach closings and the muck on the beach, which I will say, the muck seems to have gotten increasingly less, and the water clarity out there at the bay has improved. We are working with Joel Strauss on this beach closings and looking at further source identification, because it does look like it's now, could be, you know, we've really looked at the outfalls, these sewage outfalls of the public wastewater systems. It doesn't look like it's so much attributable to those sources as it is to, just today, land spreading. Frozen ground, there was a farmer out there, and liquid manure were spreading over their fields right next to
a ditch.
A ditch. So we're looking at those other sources that have been pretty much ignored over the last 10 years. Lastly, just an update on Saginaw, or the Bay City State Recreation shoreline. For over 2 years now, you know, we've been working on a boardwalk project and the 1,000 feet of beachfront that we were to basically offer to gain access to the shoreline. In the course of that project, has been quite a phenomenal exercise. These organizations are large, so when you talk about DNR, DEQ, and the Army Corps of Engineers, that's not just 3 entities, but within the different divisions, when you satisfy the different divisions between DNR, even regarding handrails on this boardwalk, one insisted they were not going to be installed, the other insisted they had to be installed. Once you get past that, then you go deal with a similar situation with DEQ and on. This project, while we have permits now from DEQ to build the boardwalk, the beach has shrunk from 1,000 feet down to 650 feet, and currently, as we discovered last year, we only have actually, from the original location, we have about 94 feet of where we could actually do this beach grooming. Because the rest of the shoreline is under preserve, do not disturb land use restriction under deed restrictions that have been recorded.
That needs to be changed, let me interject that.
That is then, we have communicated officially, we've been in communication with DNR, but we have made a formal request at the end of last year to have these deed restrictions lifted. They do have a January 18th deadline to kind of get back to us, but we did say we can help them do that. We have a body of records and documentation to help them in that endeavor if that's the route they choose to take. And so realistically, again, we have some wetlands out there that were created. That waterfront area in front of the shoreline, before that beach water's edge, that was actually, that sand had been, we have documentation now that shows that was actually removed and those wetlands created out there. The wetland plants that are found within there were actually harvested from Tobico Marsh and planted in that wetland area. So all of that talk that we've heard over the last how many years that these are natural wetlands is not, and we've known locally, it's gone against the local stories, people's own personal experience out there. And yet, so it's been a real interesting process to kind of peel back what actually has gone on out there at the shoreline and what now, and to plot a path forward, and that's the real key. So that's the end of my presentation.
Very good. Any questions? Commissioner Durancheck.
Just a comment, I sat in on a couple of the city meetings, and just a compliment to Laura that she did a really good job, because when you're dealing with as many entities, counties that are in there, everybody's grabbing for whatever, but to put this map together for this grant that she applied for is quite a task, and congratulations, you did a good job.
Very good. Anyone else? That being said, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Laura, thank you for all your work and effort. Under D, Superintendent of Bay City Schools, there's a notice of withdrawal from the cooperative operation of the educational government access channel known as Bay 3 TV. Motion to receive would be in order. Discussion. With no discussion, I'd just like to add that we would encourage administration to look and see what our options are so that we don't lose. I'm afraid if we don't do something and it does lose, that we may never have another opportunity to bring it back. So, Commissioner Lutz.
Maybe somebody from the administration can answer this, but I know that we budget, I believe it's $35,000.
I believe it's 42.
Yeah,
42. Originally it was 35. So is that 50% of the operating cost of Bay 3 TV? That was my question.
We're still looking at their budget figures, approximately 50%. There are some contributors from other sources that that go into their budget, but yes, basically to answer your question, approximately.
So we're looking close to $60,000 to add to the pie, basically, to continue Bay 3 TV, which I believe is something that we need to do. We need to endeavor to do that, and I'm wholeheartedly, for that, because it is a valuable service to our community, something we don't want to lose.
Tom, you had a
we are actively, Debbie, I should say, is actively working on this, and we will be coming back to the board with a game plan within the next 60 days. And whether or not we are going to require more funding, it's quite possible that, given that the main focus will be county government, and we would not be doing broadcasting of either city issues or school district issues, my sense is that we ought to be able to do it for 45, but it'll take some time and have some discussion, and we'll make sure that if there's a board member that's interested in participating in those discussions, just let us know, and we'll keep Bob in the loop too.
Very good. Commissioner Tilley.
I'm disappointed to see the Bay City Schools do this, and I wonder if it's contributed to new superintendent, new school board, and they don't recognize the importance of something that is new to them. And that being, I'm sure they're telling it's a budgetary reason that they're eliminating it. But also with new people in control of the Bay City Schools, sometimes never having worked with such an entity, it's just an easy cut. And unfortunately, and with Harold leaving, they don't feel an obligation to maintain such a program, because they don't know the young people that are starting something new and wonderful and going to carry on something wonderful, and I find it disappointing that that's the move they're making. In that discussion, though, that you're having, would it be to move the equipment then from Bay 3 TV into the county building here?
Well, that's one of the options we're exploring.
Dave said there's a whole thing about the ISD, maybe they'd be interested in.
I think that's long gone.
Oh, is it gone now? All right. I was going to try after 30 years to get some practical use out of it. All right.
Well, if I may.
Yes.
Go, Deb.
One of the items that was mentioned was that the location that they're presently using could possibly be disbanded, that they, won't be using that location. Apparently, the building is in need of some repair. So again, it's something that, that we're looking into.
Okay.
We have had contact with Charter. Our IT staff is, in discussions with them too about, what we need from a technology standpoint too. So that's where we are.
Very good.
Thanks, Dan.
Anyone else? Commissioner Coonan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think information or governmental access to the public is so important because so many times things can happen and people don't even realize it till after the fact and nothing can be done. Whereas if they're watching this and they can come in and if there's an issue that they have, they can take it up in current time and not have to wait till after the decisions have already been made. So hopefully we'll come up with something and maybe, we have an individual and we do that, we allocate the dollars for it. It can, be contracted out if there's something good out there and get some dollars back if there's any need for information through one of the other entities. So.
Very good. I need the commissioner that supported the...
Support.
All right, very good. Yes, Mr. Lutz.
One last thing. Originally, I believe we were also, the city of Bay City was involved in it originally, and then they pulled out because of budgetary restraints.
That's correct.
So maybe that we want to maybe talk to them about maybe jumping back on board to do their meetings, which would be a great benefit to the public. And they said,
Go ahead, Deb.
If I may, we've also been discussing contacting other municipalities within our area and see if there's a need within those organizations, those municipalities, and interest. We were contacted at one point from a couple of the townships that had expressed an interest. And as you say, people don't realize the other services that we have received from Bay 3 TV, event programming, and, in addition to our regular meeting schedule. So there are some promotional ideas as well. So.
Very good. That being said, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will move down to E. Robin K. Weiss has been asked to be appointed to the Division on Aging Advisory Committee for the 1st District. Motion to concur would be in order.
So moved.
Any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Durancheck.
Just a comment about Robin. Been in Pinconning area for her whole life. She works at the Women's Center here in Bay City. Should be a good person to be on that advisory board. And at this time, I'd like to thank Sandy Gromowski for all her time that she's been involved in. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Any other discussion? With that being said, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move into reports and resolutions. Under Ways and Means, we have Commissioner Coonan. You're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From Ways and Means Committee, we have Resolution 2016-2. This is the Veterans Foundation grant application. I move this resolution.
Support.
Any discussion? With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-3, Securus Technologies. This is the third amendment to the Inmate Facility Services Agreement through the Sheriff's Department. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-4, Correctional Healthcare Companies Contract through the Sheriff's Department. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-5, RAP grant application. This is for X-ray screening system of the Sheriff's Department. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. I do have a question for administration. The X-ray machine at the courthouse, do we have that up and running? Do we know, or is somebody just patting everyone down as they come in through the door?
May I?
Sure.
I believe that it is up and running. I can certainly follow up on that with the Sheriff's Department. and
Okay.
find out.
Bob, you haven't heard anything, have you? About
I
it?
try not to go over there.
Okay, that's probably a good thing. You wouldn't make it home.
The courthouse.
Yeah.
The one at the courthouse is operational.
Very
At least it was
good.
the last time that I went through there. It wasn't that long.
Okay.
ago.
That- Good. All right, that being said, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-6, road patrol pooled contracts fiscal year 2016, 2017, Sheriff's Department. Move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-7, the 2016 Equitable Sharing Agreement, Sheriff's Department. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-8, the fee schedule for the Bay County Golf Course through Recreation and Facilities. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-9, fee schedule addition. This is the indoor baseball golf program through Recreation and Facilities. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-10, equipment for the cardio drumming class, Recreation and Facilities. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-11, Community Center Fitness Center Equipment, Recreation and Facilities. This is a new agenda item. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-12, A&D Home Health Care Incorporated. This is a waiver contract for the Division on Aging. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-13, the 2016 Hazardous Material Emergency Management, or Emergency Preparedness Grant for Local Emergency Planning Committee through the Emergency Management. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-14, Memorandum of Understanding with Mobile Kids Dental through the Juvenile Home. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-15, Service Contract with Mobile X USA Juvenile Home. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-16, Service Contract with BizStream Juvenile Home. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-17, Major Capital Improvement Projects through Buildings and Grounds. This is for the bid process. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-18, this is some payables through the General, Bayonet, Center Ridge Arms. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-19, a contract extension for office supply agreement through finance and purchasing. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 2016-20, amendment to the Rico Copier contract through finance and purchasing. I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that's all the business from Ways and Means.
Thank you, Commissioner Coonan. We had a last-minute entry under Personnel and Human Services, so we'll go to Commissioner Lutz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I'd like to bring before the board Resolution 2016-23, which is legal secretary to the prosecutor's office to post and fill that position. I move that resolution.
Support.
Discussion. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's all we have from Personnel and Human Services.
Thank you, Commissioner Lutz. We'll move into Board of Commissioners, which would bring up Commissioner Tilley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have Resolution 2016-21, which is opposition to Senate Bill 110. And I've got a letter attached to it as well. Many of the commissioners may have read already that this is, eliminate, we can't win a popular vote, so we eliminate straight ticket voting, we gerrymander the state, we have struck no reason absentee balloting, and now you want to move a local's choice when we can elect our own county executive to a gubernatorial year where we have a drop-off rate of about 19% of voters in our own community. It's just wrong. It's another way to manipulate voting in the state of Michigan. If you can't beat somebody by popular vote, get out of office. And I strongly believe that we should be able to elect our county executive. We've had a great county over the course of since 1973, 72, since we've had the county executive elected by the people of Bay County. This county has done wonderful things over the course of those years. We've balanced budgets, and I'm proud to have served on this board for a decade. So I bring forward this resolution, and I hope that my fellow commissioners would would support me in this endeavor. So I move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Begic.
I looked up the House fiscal analysis on this bill, and the real intent of the bill was to align Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb on the same schedule. Right now, Wayne and Macomb are on the governor's schedule. Oakland is on the presidential, and Bay County is on the presidential. So the real reason is to align those three so they can have some correlation with each other. And also, the part here says that Bay County may opt out, adopting a resolution to ensure Bay County voters continue to elect their county executive during the presidential election year. Oakland County can do that also, but we have an opt-out clause in this, so I'm going to vote against it because I think we have an opt-out clause, and I think there's a good reason for the bill.
And Commissioner Tilley.
Yeah, I'll be bringing forward the opt-out if they pass this resolution at the next meeting, so that we'll opt out and beyond the same schedule that we currently are on. And I think it's interesting. They're going to they want to manipulate the elections, and they're putting Oakland County's executive seat in jeopardy. And the reason they brought it forward was because they wanted to maintain control of Oakland County, but they've got a wonderful register of deeds down there, and a wonderful with Andy Meisner and Lisa Brown, who both will likely run and could win that seat in that Oakland County, and they'll lose the seat that they're so-called drawing this bill up for. And so I, again, hope I have the rest of the commissioner's support on this, is that leave us alone and let us take care of our own politics in Bay County.
Any other discussion? I would just add my 2 cents to it. I'm sorry that that's the position you're going to take. But I think we need to send a message to Lansing that Bay County will do what Bay County wants to do, not what Lansing is trying to dictate to us. So that being said, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Very good.
Resolution 2016-22, the reports of the county executive. I so move this resolution.
Support.
Discussions. With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And we have a new resolution that you have in front of you, Resolution 2016-24, which is the county's action to encourage the local municipalities to consider, via their advice from their corporate council, to adopting a township by township, city by city, or village by village ordinance to address the panhandling issue in Bay County. I so move this resolution.
Support.
Discussion. Commissioner Begic.
Yeah, I'm going to support it, but there's been some comments online about if your township passes this and it's taken to court, you end up paying the bill on it. So I think townships need to look at it carefully, make sure they craft a good resolution if they're going to do it, because you could end up in the Supreme Court, I guess, eventually, if it goes the full
Yeah,
route.
I think that's why in that verbiage, we're encouraging these people to get with their attorneys to make sure that it's handled properly. Okay. Commissioner Coonan.
Ultimately, if somebody breaks the law, they're eventually picked up and brought to jail, and that's done by the sheriff in our jail, which is overcrowded. I'm not real, crazy about seeing panhandlers out there too. I don't know if we have a solution. We should probably, and I don't know why this has to be run through today. I should probably go through committee, give us a chance to look at it, and come up with a solution. Because ultimately, if they do break the law, sheriff's picking them up and coming to jail, then what do we do with them? That's an additional cost to us as well. So, I don't know. There's no solution to it. We identified a problem, but we haven't identified a solution. I don't know if that makes us any better or not. So.
Okay, Commissioner Tilley.
And again, this bill just simply encourages the municipalities to adopt some kind of an ordinance. We still can look at solutions. I mean, I'm all game to look for solutions, but at least this is a step in moving the ones that I really believe are abusing the privilege or the I don't know if it's privilege, but of panhandling, the concept of panhandling to a level that is somewhat of a nuisance in our community. I go back to what I said before, is that there absolutely needs to be some support for those who have mental illnesses and are wandering the streets, who struggle with substance abuse, and I'm all for working on solutions to those issues, but I also would like to see that our local municipalities start to move forward to take care of one of the nuisances that have arisen over the course of the last year or so in our community, and let's work on some solutions.
Commissioner Coonan.
I don't know why they need us to encourage them to do something if they want to do it.
And I think
ultimately, the burden, the cost is going to come back on us. And I don't know why.
I think part of
this should probably go through a committee and then we can discuss it. And I don't think it's darn important that we got to bring it to the board, but.
I think some of the issue is timing, like Bangor Township's meeting tonight, and now they have a clear message of the position the county is taking, and I think there's other townships that are having their full board meeting also running close to this meeting too, so I think that's part of it. Plus, having Amber do the research on whether or not the county by law can enact any kind of resolution that would make the townships responsible. We know now that that's not the case, and I think we've had very good discussion on the issue, being that it was brought up by a resident. So, Commissioner Lutz, you had a question?
Yeah, I'd like to see if we could get this out to either via email or whatever to all the cities and townships within Bay County. And that way they know where our hands are tied.
And I believe that'll happen first thing in the morning when Dan comes in and hits the button that says send.
And then under my committee, I have no problem if Joel or the Veterans Administration would like to come and make any type of presentation as to what steps are being taken along this avenue, what's available through the Veterans Administration for people and things like that. I think it would be a great update and get that out on Bay 3 TV to the community.
Very good.
So, I'm open to have them, come to, I think, our next meeting next week.
Okay.
If we can put it together, we
If
will.
not, then, anytime in the future, you're welcome to, come to the meeting.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Coonan?
Just real quick, I know we're running late, but, we send them a message, we want you to do something, they say, okay, we'll do it, but we're gonna pass the cost back on to you. And that's probably not a good thing to do, unless they have a problem, we pick them up, and we bill them for that, if you want to put that in the resolution. They wouldn't pass it if that were the case, but if we pick them up and we eat the costs of putting them in jail and using our deputies to do the enforcement, then we pay the costs, so.
If I could, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
Amber.
I do want to clarify just one point, and I don't know if it will address Commissioner Coonan's concerns or not. The resolution that is being proposed simply suggests that the board suggests that other Bay County municipalities consult with their own legal counsel and determine whether they want to have one or not. It does not suggest that they should pass one or should not pass one. It does not encourage them either way. It just encourages them to seek counsel from their legal representative.
Okay. Commissioner Herrick?
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner Tiller, for bringing this forward. Everybody said the same thing. It's just a resolution. The townships passed the ordinance. I'll be taking this to the two townships that I represent, and the way I see it, they passed the ordinance, and they pay taxes, and if we have to find a solution to take care of them, then that's what we have to do, because that's why they pay their taxes. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, with no further discussion, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes business from the Board of Commissioners, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Tilly. We'll go into reports from the county exec. Anything, Mr. Hickner?
No.
Very good. We will get into unfinished business. Is there any new business? Miscellaneous. Announcements. We have some appointments. We have in 2016, of course. Bay Area Act Behavioral Health, there will actually be three-year terms expiring. That being Mr. Starkweather, Robert Pollack, and past Commissioner Richard Burns. And in June, we have a library board. It's a 5-year term. Don Carlion is presently there. And in October, we have a Land Bank Authority, one local unit of government representative. It's a 3-year term, which again, Mr. Burns sits on. And then we have a Department of Health and Human Services Board of Directors. It's a 3-year term, which would involve Mr. Starkweather. And then in December, we have Division on Aging Advisory Committee. It's 4 2-year terms, that being Districts 2, 4, 6, and 1 at large. I know that we do have a need for a closed session, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the county's attorney, Alex Bomarito, is present. He has requested that the board enter into a closed session to discuss the outstanding and current litigation between County Clerk Cynthia Lezak versus the County Board of Commissioners, the County Executive, the 18th Judicial Circuit Court, and Kim Mead Circuit Court Administrator pursuant to MCL 15.268 subsection E.
So a motion to go into closed session would be in order?
Support.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Coonan is first today.
Yes.
Herrick?
Yes.
Tilly?
Yes.
Lutz?
Yes.
Durancheck?
Yes.
Begic?
Yes.
And Krieger.
Yes.
7 0 nays.
Thank you. Mr. Durancheck, Commissioner at Arms. Okay, let's, I need a motion to go back into regular order.
Oh, so moved.
Support?
Very good. Discussion? With that being said, none. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are back. And I will come to Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would request a motion from the board adopting the recommendation and authorizing of outside counsel Alex Bomarito and authorizing him to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Support.
Discussion at all? With none, all those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And Mr. Durancheck, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Motion to adjourn is always in order.
Very good. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.